Thank you. From our last meeting regarding health concerns of Wi-Fi exposure in our classrooms, I need to continue with some important information, and I thank the board for this opportunity. First and foremost, I wanted to make clear again, because it wasn't reported correctly, that non-ionizing radiation is what the World Health Organization labeled a Class 2B carcinogen, not exclusively to only cell phone radiation. There is no difference between the radiation of Wi-Fi and cell phones. Only the usage differs, with cell phones and towers being regulated at the federal level. Wi-Fi is a completely intrastate device and is not governed by FCC guidelines. Otherwise, the radiation spectrum is identical to cell phone radiation. Here's how the dangers of exposure are related. Wi-Fi works as a two-way transmission in tandem with wireless devices. This two-way Wi-Fi transmission means that when the children have devices like iPads or other tablets on their laps or near their bodies, the device itself radiates its own signal back to the antenna the same way a cell phone radiates its signals back to an antenna or a tower. But instead of conversation-length radiation directed at their heads, children will have, for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, a constant source of pulsed radiation directed toward their bodies. And the antenna their devices are radiating out toward is on their ceilings instead of a tower off in the distance. This is why iPads and iPhone manuals are instructing people to hold their devices away from their bodies and heads, because the close exposure and proximity is dangerous, and it proves there is a growing concern about liability. Next, I want to address Dr. Sheehan's notice during the last meeting that the FCC was reevaluating exposure limits to RF. If the FCC is reassessing its RF safety guidelines due to evidence and international awareness that their current safety standards are obsolete or under question, does it not make sense to you all that schools stop the use of Wi-Fi in the interim in case the FCC returns with guidelines showing the current levels of RF are unhealthy? We predict that they won't, of course, because it's important to understand that the FCC is not a health organization dedicated to the health of our children. The FCC's priorities are to ensure a framework for the unfolding of the communications revolution. That's from their own website. I personally couldn't think of a bigger conflict of interest in getting our marching orders about what's healthy for our children from a federal communications organization dedicated to serving a multi-trillion-dollar wireless telecommunications industry. In my child's classroom, there have been nosebleeds from various children in close proximity to the ceiling-mounted routers. These nosebleeds have alarmed their teacher. Nosebleeds are a common symptom of non-ionizing radiation exposure. Nurses will be contacted throughout the district to address these symptoms as possibly resultant from wireless routers. In regards to the Princeton study you keep referring to, with all due respect, it is pointless, not only in light of their links taking you to pro-microwave magazine articles promoting electronic pills, but their studies revert back to the obsolete safety guidelines set forth by the FCC. The FCC never conducted safety tests for children, only for 200-pound men who were soldiers in the military. So the Princeton studies on Wi-Fi will become relevant only when they can produce studies directly related to the health of children, not college-age adults. They'll never be able to do that because there is no recorded or researched safe level of microwave radiation exposure for children. It doesn't exist, and it is against the law to experiment on children without the consent of their parents. Therefore, a moratorium against Wi-Fi needs to be instated and an injunctive removal enacted until otherwise verified. I've proven to you that you have plenty of information at your disposal, demonstrating the need for precaution around non-ionizing radiation-emitting devices such as Wi-Fi routers and their transmitting tools. Lastly, I will be emailing you all statements of accountability to sign and return to me by our next meeting. If you actively deny the existence of possible harm from Wi-Fi, that means you're confident in Wi-Fi safety. So, signing these statements is the least you can do if you continue to deny parents their right to make choices for their children's safety while attending school. I've also provided documents for your record to assist you in this decision, and some for the second time, including the newly submitted Trial Lawyers Association objections to the FCC about radiation exposure to children. Thank you.